तो मेरा सोच कहीं पे भी वो नहीं था कि जो ट्रेडिशनल स्केचबुक है उससे ज्यादा अलग कुछ चीजें करना है। पर क्योंकि मेरा प्रैक्टिस मतलब आर्ट में अगर सबसे पहले मैंने कुछ स्टडी किया है तो वो मैंने एनिमेशन स्टडी किया है। तो एनिमेशन में एक प्रैक्टिस हो गया था कि चीजों को एक सीक्वेंस में और एक कॉन्स्टेंटली एक क्योंकि हम कोशिश करते हैं कि कितना जल्दी हम एक टाइम को या सेकंड्स को रिकॉर्ड कर सकते हैं। तो वो एक सीक्वेंसिंग वाला फंडा मेरे दिमाग में हमेशा रहता है, जिसकी वजह से मुझे छोटे छोटे पेपर के पीसेस रखना स्टार्ट करना पड़ा। फोटोग्राफ खींचना बहुत अच्छा लगता है। तो ये एक चीज है कि जहां पे हम सोचते हैं कि 1000 चीजें सामने पड़ी है, उसमें से हम एक स्पेसिफिक चीजों को कंसिडर कर रहे हैं, काउंट कर रहे हैं, राइट। तो कहीं ना कहीं आर्टिस्ट भी मुझे लगता है कि कंपोजिशन और इन सब चीजों को ऐसे ही देखता है। उनके पास से बहुत कुछ चीजें आते हैं, दिमाग में बहुत कुछ थॉट्स आते हैं, बहुत ड्राइंग्स या स्केचेस वगैरह वो बनाते हैं और उसमें से उनको लगता है कि ये चीज है जो कुछ बोल रही है या बता रही है। तो ये सेंस डेफिनेटली मुझे एक कैमरा चलाने से मिला है। जब आज हम दाविंची या उन लोगों के जो जैसे लास्ट सफर के कितने सारे ड्राइंग्स हमें कभी कभी कुछ कुछ चीजें देखने को पड़ते हैं। इनफैक्ट वही ड्राइंग मतलब वही कंपोजिशन कितने अलग अलग आर्टिस्ट ने भी अपने वे में बनाया हुआ। तो ड्राइंग ही एक प्राइमरी एरिया है कि जहां पे आप कंपोजिशन से लेके और अपने एक्सप्रेशन से लेके सब चीजों को फर्स्ट प्रायोरिटी पे सोच लेते हैं।
And being a practicing art historians, we very often miss our artistic practices because of time constraints. And in that case, many of our ideas remain in the sketchbook only. It doesn't manifest in a larger scale or in a finalized sense. So, in that sense, our notebooks are like repository of our creative thoughts as well as our thinking practices. But the first notebook I shared from Balavan, it shows a collective thought process also of our time. But the other one was more personal. But in that notebook also some of the drawings are done by my friend. So someone wanted to draw something in a personal setup, adda kind of thing, and I had my sketchbook. I gave it to her. So our approach was like that only. Means my notebook, there will be only my things. We didn't think about that. So many of the drawings are done by that friend of mine. So there is a sense of connection in these notebooks.
पहले जब हम पढ़ते थे तो स्केचबुक का यूज खाली जो एंडास कैप्चर करना है या जो हमको दिया है प्रोजेक्ट उसके लिए ही यूज होता था। तो हमको स्केचिंग करवाते थे, जो भी बनाना है उसका 15, 20, 50 जो भी स्केच है वो करना पड़ता है। तो पहले जो स्केच होता है उसका क्रिएट कर करके किस तरह आप मॉडर्न करना है, फिगरेटिव करना है, तो वो पूरा स्केचबुक का यूज वैसे होता है। तो उससे हमको जैसे एक फिगर किया है तो उसको हमको मॉडर्न या क्रिएटिव करना है तो उसको किस तरह ब्रोकअप कर करके क्या बना सकते हैं, उसमें किस तरह का हम अपना आर्टवर्क दे सकते। तो वैसे करके फिर सर को दिखा के सर हमको बोलते थे कि ये बना हुआ, इसमें आप एंडाज करो। तो एंडाज में जैसे जैसे बैच होता है वैसे बैच वाइज हमको वो होता है। और अगर किसी के पास स्केचबुक के लिए पैसा नहीं होता था उसी टाइम पे तो न्यूज प्रिंट या कैलेंडर का जो पीछे का प्लेन होता था उसके ऊपर मीन्स कुछ भी रफ होता है जिससे पीछे प्लेन पेपर मिल जाता था, वैसे हम यूज करते थे। उसके बाद मेरा तो स्कल्पचर मास्टर भी मैंने क्रिएटिव स्कल्पचर किया। उसके बाद मैंने कंटिन्यू अपनी प्रैक्टिस चालू रखी, मीन्स एग्जीबिशन कैंप वगैरह जो भी है। फिर यहाँ पे जॉब लगे एज ए आर्काइविस्ट, तो उसमें मुझे तो क्या है, मुझे मेरा प्रैक्टिस नहीं छोड़ना था, तो मुझे किसी भी तरह ड्राइंग करके अपना मीन्स क्रिएटिव माइंड जो है वो उसको बंद नहीं करना था, मुझे डेवलप ही रखना था। इस तरह तो मैंने भी वही चालू रखा।
Sketchbook is like it's kind of diary which we or any artist like they maintain. or their rough ideas or say their thoughts. They mention it over there throughout their, I think, career. For me, it is like I maintain it since my beginning of the art college studies. So it's a practice. Like we used to go for sketches, and whenever we got some idea, like or thought or something which is to put into our final drawings or art, like print, to make a print or to paint something, or for which we got some new thing which is to be shown into our art, like, so that we need to we put it into the sketch. For printmaking is basically a medium where you need sketches or drawing. It is mandatory because that is based on we don't have to use we don't use brush and all, right? So whatever we do, that the base is drawing, whether it is doing with some needle on a metal plate, or a greasy chalk or pencil drawing on limestone, or in a serigraphy we expose things, or we directly work with brush and PVC PVC glue. So these are all you need that basic drawings. Yeah. So the sketching is very important. And
basically it started in my bachelor fine arts time. We all do like basic sketch every day. Like, but for printmaking we used to keep a separate sketchbook for our layouts and particular works in different processes. Like if we want to approach a woodcut, we'll make different layouts for woodcut has other mediums also. So I used to do that, like the regular practice is different sketchbook and the printmaking one different sketchbook. Like after I did my master, like I came to masters. So in the course of study, like so I used to do self drawings on my own imagination and with memory drawings. I used to do that practice in my masters. I do prefer, like I prepare a layout basically for something like for example woodcut. So I make multiple versions of the same thing, like positive, negative, dark, light, line, pencil, pen, collage, watercolor, etc. So we do the exercise.
Like whether you're doing a canvas or a proper work, big size work, a scale of a work. So that time you want to do on one sitting, whether half an hour or something, so you can actually comfortably, whatever ideas are coming in mind. So the concept of sketching is actually was happening in that manner. Some random things, the ideas are coming, I like that. But it was not always happened in the book. Storytelling, something I've written about, some experience I had, or whenever something I observed, something like that. So it was more detailed manner, and along with that, some sort of sketchy things were happening with different mediums. Some travelogue thing. So there are different sketchbooks. Few are like travelogues, few are like study, some observation, whether I did a drawing of a plant, whether I did a drawing of a portrait or figure, or some interior or outdoor, something like that. There were sketchbooks containing, I said, the documentation or storytelling kind of things. So these are the practices happen.
As an artist, sketchbook is a part of daily life. जैसे डेली रूटीन में जो चीजें हम फॉलो करते हैं, स्केचबुक को इसी तरह से कहीं पे कुछ ऑब्जर्व किया है, कहीं पे कुछ थॉट आया है, कुछ चीजें इंसिडेंट्स देखे हुए हैं, या तो जनरल स्केचिंग करने के लिए, तो जो भी चीजें हम रिकॉर्ड करते हैं वो एक रिकॉर्ड बुक की तरह स्केचबुक का ज्यादातर प्रेफरेंस होता है. फिर कुछ चीजें ऑन द स्पॉट्स होती हैं, वो हम एज अ स्केच रेफर करते हैं. फिर कुछ स्पेशली म्यूरल के पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से, अगर म्यूरल
के पर्सपेक्टिव से बात करें तो ज्यादातर कोई भी म्यूरल बेसिकली डिजाइन होता है वो सबसे पहले स्केचबुक में डिजाइन होता है, क्योंकि म्यूरल ऐसा मीडियम है कि थ्रू द डिफरेंट स्टेजेस एंड डिफरेंट प्रोसेसेस आपको एक फाइनल एग्जीक्यूशन करना होता है प्लानिंग का। तो जो प्लानिंग का प्रोसेस है दैट इज ऑल डिपेंड ऑन द स्केचबुक्स। स्केचबुक आई थिंक मैं ऐसे कंसिडर करता हूँ कि कॉम्प्लेक्स आइडिया को सिंप्लीफाई डिफाइन करने के लिए स्केचबुक इज मस्ट प्लानिंग के लिए स्केचबुक यूज होती है। अदरवाइज तो मीडियम का खुद का एक रियलिटी है। जैसे क्ले में ऐसा फोल्ड हो रहा है वो स्केच में फोल्ड दिखाना वेरी डिफिकल्ट, बट किस तरह से फोल्ड होके वो दिख सकते हैं तो उसको प्लानिंग या तो लेआउट या तो एक आइडिया जनरेट कर सकते हो आप, इस तरह का मुझे प्लानिंग चाहिए, फिर उसके बेस में हम यहाँ पे करते हैं। तो ये रियलिटी को भी ध्यान में रखना और मटेरियल की रियलिटी को भी ध्यान में रखना है। और दैट इज लाइक वन जर्नी कि यहाँ से स्टार्ट किया। सो स्केचबुक इज अ स्टार्टिंग पॉइंट। फिर मीडियम किस तरह से रिस्पॉन्ड करता है, स्पेशली क्ले की जब बात की तो क्ले का आर्टिस्ट का तो कंट्रोल होता है, लेकिन आफ्टर फायरिंग केमिकल प्रोसेस फ्लेम किस तरह से जा रही है ट्रैवल कर रही है, तो वो भी बहुत सारी डिपेंड करती है। आइडिया को रिफाइन करने के लिए बहुत हेल्प करता है स्केचबुक। एक आइडिया जनरेट होता है वहां से उसको रिफाइन, क्योंकि आइडियाज तो बहुत सारे जनरेट होते हैं, सबको रिकॉर्ड करते हैं, लेकिन कुछ आइडिया जो एग्जीक्यूट होने के पॉसिबिलिटीज होती है, तो पॉसिबिलिटीज रिफाइन करने के लिए आइडियाज रिफाइन करने के लिए
दो पर्सपेक्टिव होता है, या तो स्टोन देख के हम मकेट बना रहे हैं और या जो बना लिए उसके हिसाब से स्टोन, और हमारा कोशिश है कि मटेरियल ज्यादा वेस्ट नहीं होना। सपोज किसी बच्चे ने बोर्ड बनाया है, ये मार्केट के हिसाब से ये स्टोन चूज किया है। तो पहले ये स्टोन इसने देखा कि हाँ कैसा है, उसके हिसाब से मकेट बना है। इसका कुछ भी होगा तो हमें ये मकेट देख के पता चलता है, अगर हम इसको कन्वर्ट भी करेंगे तो इसके हिसाब से ही कन्वर्ट करेंगे। मे बी इसका 5 टाइम्स हो सकता है, 6 टाइम हो सकता है। तो इससे क्या होता है कि इसको इस तरीके से पता चल जाएगा कि जब मेजरमेंट, हाँ हाइट भी 5 इंटू होगा, इसका भी ये 5 इंटू होगा और इसका ये भी 5 इंटू होगा, तो जितना ये मार्केट होगा वो इंटू 5 हो जाएगा, आइदर 6 हो जाएगा, आइदर 7 हो जाएगा। तो इस तरीके से इस प्रोसीजर से गुजरना पड़ेगा। तो ये बहुत बेस्ट के लिए बहुत इम्पोर्टेंट हमारा मार्केट।
Actually, what you are talking about is more of materials than of making. There is this basic difference between materials and makings. See, when I am doing sculpture, I am not actually thinking about the image per se. There is this basic difference between 2D artworks and 3D artworks. 2D artworks are mostly based on images. So whatever you draw, that can come directly to the artwork. But whenever I am making a 3D artwork, it is more of a tactile object. The touch is a very important feeling there. And that's why the material is so important. Drawing, my primary material is ink and paper. Okay. So the ideas what I am thinking about, that cannot be actually sustained within those materials. Because when I am thinking about it, but whenever ideas come, we need a way to record that. That's why sketchbooks are just like primary, just to record your mental impression, record your ideas.
That you have to have your idea first generated on the sketchbook. And maquettes was coming in the second year, when they are actually developing more on the, the conceptualizing the form and how to deal with the space, because ours is sculpture. Ultimately, you are dealing with the space, not the space on the 2D thing. It's the space on 3D format, right? And you have to chip it out, carve it out. So, POP block becomes a very ideal situation where you are just chipping out and bringing out the form. So, students understand that, okay, this is the way we have to do. Understand? So, that in that case, just a sketch will not help on a 2D surface. So yes, sketch is very important, but ours is, you can say, clay sketches. Okay, suppose this is a block, a wooden block or a stone block. So what we have to do, suppose I have a conceived torso or a figure. Now, a figure from this side, it would be different, from this side it would be different, from this side only the hands would be coming. So on all the directions we have to draw, and this drawing would be different in all the directions, right? So yes, that is very necessary, that you have to draw out, because yahan se carving karna shuru kiya, and then the back side they should coincide. And so you have to do that drawing initially.
So basically for me, the sketchbooks are they are the observational memories for me. Since basically my work is based on architecture, right? So I came across lot many architectures which I find interesting, and sometimes I have certain memories with them. So that is how I try to build or like transform those particular spaces into my sketchbook. But it is not always in terms of sketching, where which is doing pencil works. But I try to incorporate some of the techniques with, say, dry pasting, oil pasting, or maybe I'm scratching certain surfaces where I'm trying to create the texture of that particular art. So that is how all those elements are becoming part of my sketchbook, and sometimes I do include the cutout sketches in my work where they don't remain as sketches, then they become the main part of me. So that is how I try to use my sketchbook and my sketch, or let's say observational knowledge.
See, basically, a sketchbook is almost like my personal diary because I am a visual artist. I think visually, like behind every thinking of mine, there are like some visuals. Some visuals come into my mind, obviously. Some of them I decide to paint or make something out of that. But unfortunately, what happens? Most of these ideas comes in an odd time. Maybe when I'm not working. So I need to keep a record of those thinking somewhere, so that when I'm working, I can get those references. So the sketchbook is for me like that idea book. Like whatever is coming in my mind, whenever it is coming, I make some initial drawings and some writings as well, like how my mind was going on at that moment. I keep a record of everything, and later on I go through those things and I find some of them interesting for me, so I might go for making something else out of that. Some of them I reject, in the sense they are just left like that in the stage. That maybe the final version works, but for the students, for the learners, knowing that process is very much helpful. Just a simple example, like we think Picasso is a genius, so whatever he draws is the final artwork. That is the one of a masterpiece. But actually, it is not. He also did a lot of struggle. So there are thousands of sketches he did before painting the Guernica. So if you go through those sketches, you will come to know that Picasso, being a genius, equally struggling to finalize how the work will be.
I often go back to them, maybe at night, maybe a month from now, maybe 5 years down the line. And they are more like journals. There are often things which are with the idea of developing a particular work, but more often than not, they're just passing thoughts, ideas. Or like I said, I like noting down things that I'm reading, or sudden critical thought that has come to me, or a sentence that catches me, or a word that fascinates me. It can be anything. So it can be an image, it can be a word, it can be just an unconscious kind of scribble, because I find materials quite exciting. I mean, and all sketchbooks are different kinds of paper. So what works with that paper, finding that out, trying it out, experimenting, sometimes, using a new material. So that's why, people do notebooks now. They are recording their voices, they are taking notes in their mobile phone. I was never interested in that. For me, that physical gesture of picking up a tool or an instrument and touching the paper or whatever surface is very important. That physicality matters to me. And I don't get that when I go it on a street. So, because drawing itself is seen as the process, which is so important. So that distinction between this is a drawing, which is not to be shared, this is something private, this is a regulatory study, all that devotion is studied, right? But drawing is seen as something which is very directly connected with. You can see the gestures, you can see the balances, you can see the erasers, you can see the changes. And you can almost retrace the journey of the
basically the thought process that begins in the mind is kind of a raw ideation process, but to transfer those thoughts or to observe things which are in the surroundings and translating them onto a concrete form with the paper or pencil is the best form in terms of a sketchbook. Sketchbook then becomes a kind of a documentation, and it becomes a historical source for the artist, which helps artist himself or herself as well as the student to nurture those thoughts into a larger format of visualization. There is no boundary like design or art or painting or sculpture. It can happen to any one of us, and those thoughts which are translated on the sketchbook are not possible with any other medium. Whatever digital mediums are available today, the most natural and comfortable medium is the sketchbook, and still I believe it is the most important tool for the artist or the designers.
If there's a time comes when you start sketching, and a time comes that when you become the sketch, then there is no difference between you what you are painting, whether you are picking up any easier. It is just an experience of a connection. And slowly and gradually, because I am seeing now sketches, it has become some kind of melody for me. So all these years, I guess for me, the definition of sketches and sketching, in fact, has changed, and it is still changing. The mediums also, and also how I am doing it. The forms are changing and appearing, and every time it just gives me a hit on the face that okay, this is something new, and also it tells you about you. If you want to express yourselves or if you want to find anything inside you, I guess we can go on sketching subconsciously.
Whenever we are planning taking the idea or looking about the idea, it's a simple matter picture. But if I wanted to communicate with this idea, then I have to transfer this mental image on paper. So I use sketchbook to communicate my ideas, as well as if I want to discuss this prints as well as my colleagues, I use sketchbook to communicate my idea as well as to how to execute the idea. So sketchbook is still like a part of my life, and I day-to-day use sketchbook to present or maybe express my emotions as well as what my picture I'm creating. So sketchbook is part of my life as well as the teacher. I think everyone or maybe it's a student also to maintain a sketchbook for their day-to-day life or maybe a day-to-day
to scribble or doodle first of all the idea. Okay. So once you draw your idea, once you scribble your idea, once you doodle your idea, then you have to brainstorm again. You have to improve that idea, and you have to make roughs. And from that roughs, you can go through the process and get the final one. So this is the process. How to get the final version of your drawing, of your design, of your artwork. Okay. So this is the process. This is the practice. While learning or practicing graphic design or visual communication. Okay. The sketch wasn't only about form itself. It was more about
the kind of idea that I'm also interested in writing. So along with whatever I study, the debate that I study, there was always some kind of reading that got into my sketchbook. So then those sketches, which are basically three-dimensional, began to convert itself into very conceptual practice as well. And that's where the idea generates. So what I study on site kind of develops into a concept or a work of art, not necessarily all the time. Because initially the practice is that you have a skill on hands that will help you in the development as an artist. So these sketches will kind of help me to connect with certain ideas, certain concepts, and that's how I usually begin it. So practicing sculpture, it has evolved a lot because these days, particularly asking sketch at the moment, my sketches are not what they used to be. A very thorough study of and volume. But they're just the initial idea that I want to sketch because there's so much time that I spend in the academy and also like reading or observing things. So I don't have that dedicated time to work to it. So these sketches then develop as drawings, and sometimes even if it doesn't go sculpture, I visit and sketch other sculptures again, and if there is a possibility, I will that into a drawing. So for this pages, that kind of they mingle or they kind of they go together on a time.
I generally practice actually, and I don't do or use those sketchbook as a practice book where I refer my sketchbook for my paintings, final paintings. And there's another sketchbook in which I have a lot of text regarding those works, my intuitive thoughts. And also I've started using my phone note app also for collecting my ideas and certain creative visual imagery if it is coming in my mind. Another part also which sketchbook plays in my practice where I have to ideate ideas and also plan, not sketch where I draw and I use those drawings directly to my paintings. Rather, I use to ideate how ultimately the works will look, how it could be planned.
जब हम स्टूडेंट थे तो स्केचबुक एक कंपलसरी एकेडमिक एक्टिविटी पार्ट था, इसलिए आपको स्केचबुक रखना है. But nowadays, I keep a record of things that I make observations. तो observe कर रहा हूँ, मैं उसको record कर रहा हूँ. Yeah, it is also a solution. So it is a document of compiling all these things. So observations, analysis कर रहा हूँ, एक concept design कर रहा हूँ, तो उसके लिए कितने sketches किए हैं. और that is also a record of time कि मैंने उस time क्या सोचा था, क्या सोच रहा था. So that should also be there. It is a record of recording time actually कि मैं उस time में क्या सोच रहा था. So when you are talking but photography I'm taking a digital document. So I can take many photographs. But while I'm doing a sketchbook, it is some sort of stagnant idea. In photography I have to execute very fast. So those things are processed in my mind. Okay, and that again can be replayed, and I can draw it in my sketchbook later on. Sometimes, most of the times, I don't do sketches when I do photographs. But sometimes I specifically make a drawing, and according to that drawing, I do a photograph.
Oh.
I'm designing a product, I'm arranging a product, and how the light will fall, how the composition will be there. So that has been drawn in my sketchbook. Okay.
क्या होता है कभी हम क्या करते हैं कि 2D बनता है, एक आइडिया आता है कि हम फॉर्म ऐसा कुछ बनाएंगे. मास्टर की बात करो तो मैं बहुत स्केच करता था, तो उसमें सिर्फ 2D है. जब 3D इसको करोगे तो चारों साइड से देखना पड़ेगा, है ना, हर एंगल से, और तुम हर एंगल का अलग अलग स्केच होगा. तो इसे हम सिर्फ एक मोटिव के तौर पे लेते हैं कि चलो हाँ ऐसा कुछ बनाएंगे. बाकी सडनली जब वर्क करते हैं तब काम आता है ना. पर तुम कैसे देखते हो, तुम कितना देख पाते हो, सामने वाला नहीं देख पाया. इसको डिफरेंस करने के लिए स्केचिंग हेल्प करता है तुमको बूस्ट करने के लिए, ना, एज अ आर्टिस्ट ग्रो करने के लिए. चाहे जो बन चुके हैं वो स्केच नहीं करते हैं, सुने हुए बोलते भी है कि मैं स्केच नहीं करता हूँ, मेरे मन में आता है और मैं स्टार्ट करता हूँ मटेरियल से, बट वो प्रैक्टिस है ना।
स्केचबुक तो एक फिजिकल ऑब्जेक्ट है कि जहां पे मैं उसको नोट कर लेता, तो वो थ्रू लाइंस, थ्रू फॉर्म्स, थ्रू सरफेस, टेक्सचर्स, थ्रू डिफरेंट मीडियम्स मैं उसको वहां पे नोट कर। तो स्केचबुक मेरे लिए बहुत ही पर्सनल है कि जहां पे मैं मतलब कि ऐसा कुछ सोचता नहीं हूँ कि हाँ ये यहाँ पे होना चाहिए नहीं होना चाहिए, सीधा डायरेक्ट अप्रोच जो होता है, हम जो सोचते हैं वो वहां पे मैं उसको रिकॉर्ड करने की कोशिश करता हूँ और मेरा एक रिकॉर्ड भी है। हम स्टूडेंट्स को भी यही कहते हैं कि आप कहीं पे भी जाते हैं तो जो जो विजुअल्स आपके सामने आते हैं, तो अगर हम उसको फ्रेम वाइज फ्रेम देखते जाए तो सुबह से लेके शाम तक कई हजारों लाखों फ्रेम्स हमारे आंखों के आगे से निकलते हैं, मगर जब आर्टिस्ट सुबह से चलता है तो शाम तक में सब चीजें याद नहीं रहती जो देखता है। मगर कुछ कुछ फ्रेम्स ऐसे हैं, कुछ कुछ एक्शंस ऐसे हैं, मूवमेंट्स ऐसे हैं, कंपोजिशंस ऐसे हैं कि जो उसको याद है और वो डायरेक्टली उसके कंपोजिशन के लिए, उसके पेंटिंग्स के लिए वो जरूरी नहीं, मगर कहीं ना कहीं वो उसकी स्केचबुक में अगर वो उसने रिकॉर्ड किया है, उसको ड्रॉ किया है, उसको पेंट किया है, उसको मार्क्स किया है, तो वो उसको इंस्पायर करता है या फिर उसकी जो मेन प्रैक्टिस है उसके लिए वो हेल्पफुल बनता है कि हाँ तो जब पीछे कभी देखेगा तो मैंने ये विजुअल देखा था, मैंने ये पिक्चर देखा था, मैं यहाँ पे गया था तो ऐसा कुछ सीन देखा, तो वो मेन जो उसकी प्रैक्टिस है उसमें वो उसको डायरेक्टली या इनडायरेक्टली, वो कॉन्शियसली या अनकॉन्शियसली दिमाग में जो वहां पे पड़ा है वो उसके मेन प्रैक्टिस में वो
Later, I am more focusing on doing drawings and sketching, because in 3D sculpting we need drawing to make the last sculptures, and even the measurement is required when we are dealing with 3 dimension. So there is proper measurement which is only helpful with the drawing purpose only. So it will fulfill our material handling in 3 dimension. And as an art educator, I am promoting drawing and sketching more and more, because it is very much essential to for our creation. And we can only build large sculpture like 20 feet, 25 feet with the help of drawing only. The basic element is the drawing only, and with the help of 3D drawings, I am using 3D printing. So out of 3D printing, we are making mold.
When you see that process from the beginning till the end, it is, a very interesting line of body of work which it creates in its own manner, that how it started and how it ended. So वो start से end के बीच का जो एक process है ना, that is the whole moment to enjoy. Generally we see that execution हो गया, अभी logo बन गया या brand identity create होगा, but वो design जितना मजा हमें नहीं देता, वो process मजा देता है. Because वो process के बीच का जो discussion है, उसके बीच का जो एक रिदम है, जो स्टूडेंट सोच रहा है, मैं क्या सोच रही हूँ, मीनवाइल क्या परसीव कर रहे हैं हम उस चीज को लेकर, तो स्केचबुक वो मीडियम बनता है कहीं ना कहीं एक्सप्रेस करने का.
स्टडीज करी हुई है, जो असाइनमेंट्स होते थे, आर्किटेक्चर, कंपोजिशन, एनाटॉमी प्रैक्टिस, लाइफ स्टडी, वो सब चीजें करी. बट मेरा जो मेजर इंटरेस्ट डेवलप हुआ इलस्ट्रेशंस में, वो कैरेक्टर डिजाइनिंग में और मोर ऑफ स्टोरी बुक इलस्ट्रेशंस. तो इलस्ट्रेशन जो होते हैं वो अब वो बनाने के लिए कि आपको रियलिस्टिक वर्क तो आता है कि किस तरीके से प्रोपोर्शंस डिवाइड होते हैं, क्या बॉडी पार्ट्स होते हैं, कितने डेन हेड्स में डिवाइड होता है, सबका अपना अपना स्टाइल होता है. अब तो आपको पहले जो रियलाइज है उसका प्रोपोर्शन तो पता होना चाहिए, तभी आप उसको अपने स्टाइल में डेवलप करो, है ना. अगर आपको आता ही नहीं है, आपको प्रोपोर्शन का नॉलेज ही नहीं है, तो फिर आप उसको एक्सपेरिमेंट नहीं कर सकते हो ना. तो पहले आप देखो कि रियल एनाटॉमी क्या होती है, उसमें फिर आप एक्सपेरिमेंट करो. एक्सपेरिमेंट करके फिर आपके स्टाइल डेवलप हो जाएगी, है ना, आपकी प्रैक्टिस के अकॉर्डिंग कि आपका कंफर्ट जोन क्या है.